Sorry, I didn't come with Mabudu today, so it's just me that you're going to get. Sorry, where do I stand here? Okay. Do I get a remote instead? Do I get a remote? Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Hi everybody online. I hope you guys can hear me. So occasionally I speak fast, so in case you catch me speaking fast, please just let me know. Um, please, I'll be sitting down just so that I'm as comfortable as possible to give you guys all the gist I can give. Okay, so yes, my topic today is licensing and the film business. So I will be talking about more of the business side of film, how the money comes in, how the money goes out, basically how money is made from film. Okay, thank you. So let me start with introducing myself. My name is Nkechukwu Odibi, but you can call me Inky. Everybody calls me Inky. I head the legal department at Ebony Life. So at Ebony Life, we started off as a pay TV channel on DSTV's 165. So we used to create original content and license content and show to the viewers. In 2020, actually in 2015, we started to transition into a movie production company. So we created our first film, which was 50. And since then, we've been creating movies. In 2020, we stopped operating our TV channel, and now we are focused entirely on film production and exhibition. So, my job at Ebony Life is the legal and business affairs. So, we negotiate contracts, draft contracts, basically trace the money, how does money come in, what do we do to get as much money as possible and keep as much money as possible. So, yes, producing films. We enjoy watching films, but for the people who make them, it's a money making enterprise. Everybody is out to make money. But because films are such a collaborative process, you find films that are made by 50 people, 100 people, sometimes up to 250 people. If you've ever stayed back for one of the post credit scenes of a Marvel movie, you know that the credits just go on and on and on. A lot of people are involved across different countries. So for that film to be funded, a lot of money goes into it. For movies that are made by the major studios like Disney, Universal, Sony, usually the studio finances that. So that's the first form of film financing, studio financing. Usually the studio finances 100% of the production. So for like an Avengers Endgame or a Spider-Man, the entirety of it was financed by the production studio. Um, but other than that, not every movie is made by a major studio. You have smaller studios in the US and in Nigeria, we don't really have major studios. So those are called indie projects. The indie really means independent. So those smaller projects are usually funded by a variety of individuals, entities, sometimes even banks. Occasionally, and we're going to be learning best practices, not necessarily what applies in Nigeria, but what happens worldwide. So what happens is in an indie project where it's a smaller project, the distributor comes in and so the producer of the film approaches the distributor and says, okay, this is the film I want to make. It's going to have flying cars, it's going to be set in 2035, it's going to be the maddest thing ever. We're going to have Brad Pitt, George Clooney, we're going to have all these actors, it's going to be fantastic. But I need you to, so it's going to, I estimate that this is how much it's going to make at the box office. I really think you should get on board. So then the distributor licenses the rights to distribute this project that is not yet made on occasion in certain territories. So let's say the US, Canada, China, because those are big territories for international movies. So the distributor licenses those rights and then gives the producer some money to make the movie. So that's generally called like a negative acquisition, where you come on board before the movie is made. So the distributor gives the producer some money for those major territories. You also have distributors who can come in and take the smaller territories as well. Then after that, the next another way you can get money is through loans. So you have banks or other financial institutions who are willing to give the producer money to make their films. So usually this happens when the producer has made a couple of movies before. So there's a track record of what you have made, what you can do when money is given to you. And before the loan is given, also this is international best practices, not necessarily what applies in Nigeria yet. You are to sign a completion bond. I know a lot of us are lawyers here and are familiar with bonds and completion bonds. Basically, it's to the effect that you're assuring that the movie will be completed on time and within budget. So when that completion bond is in place, then you are given the money for the loan as, as part of the production financing. So that you now have, for the indie producer, you now have money from distributors, possibly money from financial institutions. Another way that money comes in is tax rebates. So we don't have a lot of this in Nigeria, but in some other countries and some other states in the US as well, where you film your production according to certain standards, you film it in a particular state, the state gives you tax rebates. But those tax rebates are given at the end of the production. So it's not that, okay, I will do this and then they give you the money. It's you have done it and then they give you the money. So because you get that money at the end, you can't really put it towards the production. So what happens is that those tax rebates they serve as like collateral as well for more money that you can get from a financial institution or from a lender. So you say, okay, I'm going to produce my movie in this state. I'm going to be able to get this amount of tax rebate. When I get that, I will use that money to pay you back your money. So please give me this money sorry, beforehand. So that helps. So all this goes into like the pool of film financing. Now, films can take, if it's a small budget movie in US, it's about $5 million and below. If it's above that, it can now be, medium to big budget. So all this money goes into that pool. In addition, you can get investors, maybe high net worth individuals who are interested in seeing this movie being made. Supposing it's a movie on a particular subject that someone is interested in, they can invest in your project. You also have product placements. So this come up a lot in this conversation, product placements. Basically, you can have a situation where you meet a brand and say, I'm going to make a movie about this. It's going to be this long. It's going to have this actor. And I feel like your brand will benefit from being associated with this film. So let me give the example of, I have a bottle of water. Okay, Nestle. So say we have a film where the actor is lost in the desert for some reason. I'm not sure how that's going to happen, but yeah, he's lost in the desert, and by some chance, or maybe he's hallucinating, and all of a sudden, the only thing he can dream of is a Nestle bottle of water. Now, has any of us seen Castaway? Castaway, great. Okay, thank you guys for participating. Yeah, so Castaway, where he had the ball, that was a huge part of that movie. It almost became a second character. So now imagine this film where the actor is in the desert and the only thing you can think about is this bottle of water. Now this bottle of water probably stays with him the entire film. The viewers are invested in this story. They don't even really see the fact that there's a Nestle cap on the bottle. They notice it, but it's not something that stays active on their minds. But at the end of the day, when you're thinking about this movie, you think about the fact that there was a bottle of water, that was a Nestle bottle of water that was with this actor the entire time. Before you realize it, maybe you go to the supermarket, you see Nestle, you're like, why not Nestle anyway? That's product placement. And that is a fantastic way for a brand to get brand awareness. So if you go and meet the brand and say, look, I'm going to feature your product in my film. It's going to give you this amount of advertising value. We're going to learn how to calculate advertising value as we go along. and you should give me this amount of money so that your product will be featured in my film. Now, if you are able to convince them of the value of that, they could give you a certain amount of money that will go towards your budget as well. So there's product placement where, say, the bottle is just featured in the scene, and then there's product integration where the bottle now becomes a part of the story. So like in Castaway, as opposed to something else where you just see where the camera just pans across and then there's a bottle of water on the table. That's product placement versus product integration. So depending on what you negotiate, you get slightly less money or slightly more money, depending also on the budget of the brand. So let's drop our prompt. Yes, and the last form is co-production. So supposing I don't have enough money to make this fantastic film I want to make, but there's another producer who also is interested in this film or just wants to make a film and is not quite sure what they want to make yet, or he just has some money that they have put aside to make a film. We can both agree that to pool our resources and make this particular film. So I'm investing some money, you are investing some money, or I'm just investing man hours, my creative knowledge, and you are investing the money. So it's a collaboration. That way you can also get money to fund your film. So these are really the ways that films are funded. Because they are such expensive ventures, it's unlikely. I mean, nowadays, previously when Nollywood was a bit younger, I guess you could have a situation where the budget was smaller and we're just really doing what we were bootstrapping. So one or two people would come together and make the man put the money for a budget. Now that's not necessarily the case, especially because audiences are demanding higher quality, better stories. Has anyone seen Brotherhood? It's in cinemas. Now, you can imagine that that's not one person's money to block 10 million. That wasn't one person's money. So these are the ways in which we are able to fund movies. So next slide, please. So yes, so now these are the ways in which films make their money back. So we have pulled the money from all these different sources, or supposing we're Marvel and we funded the film ourselves. The film has been made, it's now about to be released. These are the ways in which the movie makers will get their money back. Now with film, like I said, it's a very collaborative process. There's a director, there are the actors, there's a writer, there's a production company, there are the locations, there are the props, there's the wardrobe, there's the makeup, there's the very important crew. All these people are making a living from the services they are providing. So meaning they are all going to be paid. Some of them are paid, upfront, thank you for your service, and that's it. Some people are paid upfront and they also get proceeds at the end of the movie. Some people who put the money in they wait for the waterfall, so that's all the expenses to be paid off, and then they get the proceeds at the end. So a lot of money is made from films, but a lot of money also goes out to the different collaborators. So I'm going to scatter this a bit just so that I can follow the slides the order of the slides afterwards. So we'll start with theatrical releases. So usually when a film is produced, the first place it goes to is the cinema. Like the person who said he's seen Brotherhood, immediately after it was released, he went straight to the cinema. So cinemas are the first window, that's what we call it in films, the first window, because the cinematic experience is very different. As much as we enjoy Netflix and Amazon Prime, it's not quite the same thing as where you sit down in a dark room with the huge screen and the surround sound and you watch a movie. The experience is entirely different. So when a movie goes to the cinema, how it gets there, first of all, is the production company has now, in some cases, licensed their rights to the distributor to be able to get that movie to the different cinemas in different cities or different countries. A production company will not know all the cinemas in the world or all the cinemas in their territory to be able to get that movie to them. So they give those rights to the distributor. So the distributor who now has these relationships, gets this movie into all the cinemas that he can get. So the cinema now runs this huge establishment that runs on diesel, has staff, pays, produces cinema food, so popcorn, drinks. It runs this entire establishment that's for the purpose of showing these movies. Now, the general lifespan of a movie in the cinema is, say, 4 to 5 weeks, depending on how well the movie is doing. So, when those agreements are signed, what happens is the receipts are split between the cinema and the exhibitor or the distributor. So, say for the first week, these are examples. For the first week, you get 60-40, maybe more to the producer, 40 to the cinema. Then, as the weeks go down, it kind of switches. So, by the time it reaches the fourth and fifth week, the cinema is now making maybe 60, and then the producer is making 40% of the receipts from the movie, because at this point in time, the movie is not as hot anymore. Most people would, if you wanted to watch it, would probably have gone the first week, second week, maybe third week. By the fourth and fifth week, the cinema is not making as much money from showing the movie, because cinema halls are no longer as full. So after that split is done, the distributor also takes a certain percentage, because the agreement between the producer and the distributor is usually that the distributor gets about 20 to 30%, sometimes more, depending on the leverage of the producer. So at the end of the day, what the producer gets from making their movie is about 30 to 35% of the box office. So for those of us who Google movies before we go to see them, or who Google movies before we watch them, and you see, say, the box office numbers of a film, say you see a movie that the budget was 50 million, and then the box office it made 200 million. In actuality, what the producer is getting from that is about 30 to 35%, because, like I said, collaborative process, everybody has to get their money. So after the theatrical window is done, the movie goes to a different, a different platform. On occasion, the movie goes straight to a different platform. Oh, sorry, the next slide. This was what I've been explaining. So, distributor, exhibitor, that's a cinema, and then production studio. So, there's deduction, another deduction before you get your 30 to 35%. So, I think, we can now go to the next slide. So nowadays, with the streaming wars and with internet becoming more mainstream, there's movies that go directly to video on demand platforms. So there's some movies that you would see simultaneously in the cinema and on maybe Netflix or Amazon, but some of them will go directly to Netflix or on Amazon or Hulu. So you have different video on demand platforms. You will have subscription, which is where you pay monthly or mostly monthly, for access to these movies or this content. You also have advertisement based, where what you're really how you're paying for watching this content is by viewing advertisements. So you have YouTube, Facebook Watch. The other way is transactional video on demand. So where you more or less buy each viewing or buy each movie or each content that you have access to. So basically, video on demand is, as with everything with film, it's really licensing. So you license your content to the distributor, who now licenses it to the theater. With video on demand as well, you license it to the online platform that shows it to the viewers. So the producer licenses his content or his or her content to an Amazon or a Paramount Plus, and they in turn grant the viewers access for a fee to watch that online. So that's really how this goes. We're all familiar with Netflix, YouTube, iTunes. So we can go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so we're back to product placement. So I had said how early enough you can use product placement as a way to earn money for your budget. But it can also be, when used later in the film process, a way to earn money afterwards. So um, supposing the product placement was not organized as early on in the film process, such that it went into the money went into the budget, or the agreement was such that the money came after the film was produced, then product placement now adds to the way that the filmmaker can make money afterwards. So here, this is a chart of the movies that gave the most advertising value in 2021. So there's Don't Look Up. How many of us saw Don't Look Up on Netflix? There's Free Guy, that was the one with Ryan Reynolds, Fast Nine, Space Jam, Spider Man, Venom, Red Notice, and No Time to Die. So just for Red Notice was a huge film on Netflix last year. It had Gal Gadot, it had Ryan Reynolds, and who was the last person? The Rock, exactly. Thank you. So Red Notice was huge for product placement, like massive. Now these numbers are the advertising value that each of these films give. Now it doesn't mean this is the amount that they earn from product placement, but what's the advertising value that they give. So how you calculate advertising value is, say you value each second of your film at, let's say, $10 for an ad. So for you to show an ad in my film, each second is worth $10. And each person, each of these brands, say their brands were shown, or the products were shown for a certain number of seconds in the film. So when you multiply that, that's how you buy. That's how you get advertising value. So let's go back to this bottle. So supposing we had this film where for 5 seconds this bottle was shown on screen. So and I valued each second of my film at 100 naira. So that means the advertising value I have given to Nestle is now 10 or 100 naira versus times the 5 seconds that shows on screen. So that's 500 naira. So now this numbers in dollars is the advertising value that these films give. So that means in Don't Look Up, there was just under 300 million of advertising value that the film gave to all the brands that it used. So this should give you an estimate of, first of all, how many brands are used in these films. So really, a lot of US films are big, just basically huge advertisements. Everything is an ad. If you get a book, usually the producers are not paying for that book. It's maybe the brand owners who have supplied that book for use in the production. Now, it's not every product placement that is given in exchange for money. Sometimes, just so that my brand or my product is visible in a film to a bigger audience, the owners of the brand, or say their sales agents, approach the producers and say, okay, you're making a film, I'm willing to give you, say, for example, Nokia. I'm willing to give you 50 Nokia phones to your crew and for your production, so that my product is featured in your film. Now, that is still calculated as part of this advertising value, but the producers don't necessarily get money from that, they just get products. There are situations in which they get products and money, situations in which they just get money. So it just really depends on the deal that you're working with. So yes, there's this note about how in Skyfall, so the James Bond movie, Heineken paid $45 million for a 7-second swig of their drink. So the scene, I believe, was James Bond. I think he was lying on the bed, he was sitting down, and he took like a gulp of Heineken and he showed on the screen for 7 seconds. And he paid $45 million for that. Good money, yes, good money. So sorry. So but the concern with product placement is usually convincing the brand owners that they're going to get value for the money they're paying. Because those of us who are familiar with Nigerian movies, we have Nigerian movies nowadays who are trying to capitalize on product placement. But because um, our brand owners here are a bit more, yes, not, I wouldn't say academic, there's not as much money going around. There's not much money going around. And also, I don't really want, they don't, and not me, I don't want to pay, they don't want to pay you, say, 10 million naira. And then when I'm watching the film, I miss the scene. They want to be able to see what they have paid for. So you have situations where half of the screen is blocked with whatever the brand is, and you're like, okay, yes, I can see your product placement. Please relax. So the idea is generally that it's better. It's better for viewers. It's better for the brand. It's just better for the story when the product placement is not in your face. So it's there, but it's not there exactly. So let me give an example. Has anyone seen Hustle? It's this, yes, fantastic. So in Hustle, it's this story about, if you haven't seen it, you should see it. It was a fantastic movie. It's this story with Adam Sandler where he's like a coach trying to recruit a new basketball player. Now, this basketball player is like from a small town in Italy or Spain, and he's basically just seeing a lot of things for the first time. So Adam Sandler puts him in a hotel and kind of allows him to pay to order whatever he wants. So now this guy orders Pringles, like lots of Pringles, the tiny little pack. So in the story, he keeps on talking about Pringles. How, oh, I've come back again and you've eaten so much Pringles. You've run up my hotel bill with your Pringles. You don't even realize how much Pringles is being said to you. Like you're seeing Pringles, you're hearing Pringles. Until after, when you're thinking about the movie, like, that was actually a lot of Pringles. But you see, it was there, but it wasn't there. Now, sports movies they're like the hub of product placement because you have all these sports brands who are clamoring to put their products in. You have Under Armour, you have Nike, you have Adidas. But something I started doing recently was if I see a movie I really enjoy, I go back and Google the product placements that were in it, and you'll be surprised how much some things you missed, some things you noticed, but you didn't realize you noticed. So like shirts they're wearing, basketballs they're throwing around, shoes they're wearing, different things. So it's a huge market, not just for the brand owners, for the production companies, and also for the people who forge these deals. So as lawyers, it could be a fantastic way for us to say, oh, I see that you're going to make this movie. Can I suggest a collaboration that would be great for your movie? So I feel like maybe Guinness would be fantastic for this character to be involved with or have a relationship with in the film. It will help your brand in this way. It will help your story in this way, in that it gives you a bit more production value. People can relate to it because this is a brand they recognize. So it's a synergy. It's just a great relationship to have, both for both of the parties. And especially fantastic also for you if you're the lawyer who comes in with this deal, gets it closed, and you could possibly charge maybe your fee or a percentage of the fee that is, exchanged between the parties. So it's just a great thing all around. So next slide, please. So yes, our good friends, James Bond. Basically, this is money that has been made from James Bond films from time. So like I was saying about movies being a collaborative process and the box office. Sorry, I hope I don't block anyone, but I just want to explain. So this is basically what the box office received from Skyfall. That's 1,100,000,000 naira. Sorry, dollars. I think Nigeria, that's the issue. So the theater cut. So what the cinema took, like I said, it ends up being in the range of about 30%. So the cinema took $400 million. The production, that is for paying the cast, paying the crew, paying everyone who was on board, paying for locations, that cost about 186 million. Now, advertising and promotions is a it costs almost as much sometimes as it takes to make the film. So we call it P&A, promotional advertising. Your promotional advertising budget has to be impressive if you actually want to get people to see your movie. Because if you make the movie and you keep it in your house, no one's going to see it. So, billboards, magazines, where you have movie stars who all of a sudden when they have a movie coming out, you see them in all the magazines everywhere. That is paid for. So um, advertising, billboards, all kinds of things, videos. That's where this money goes. So that's $117 million. Then theater prints. So all those standees you see, pictures, posters, all that. This is where the money comes from. 27,700,000. Then others is now about 24 billion. Then this movie was profitable. Not all movies are profitable. Now, if you watch videos by studio executives that like Sony, Marvel, they will tell you, or they will tell anyone who's going to listen, that say they make 4 or 5 movies in a year. Out of those 4 or 5, on average, 1 or 2 will be profitable, and those 1 or 2 is what will fund the 5 or the other 3 that were not necessarily profitable. So the smaller type, maybe like some rom-coms, some movies that you were like, oh, this movie seems nice, maybe I'll watch it. And before you saw it, before you know it's out of the cinema, those types of movies, they don't necessarily make the money back. But what funds that movie are those 2 huge ones that same studio made that year. They're now kinds of funds that not all of the studios are actually profitable. It's a weird cycle. So yes, but James Bond is a massive franchise, so they have existing IP. They can already, like, if you another the more movie is coming out, everybody is on alert. Everybody wants to see it. It's as huge to have. Any studio that has IP like this is already like they can sit comfortably knowing that the next movie is going to make money. So now with James Bond, Sony had some rights in it, so they earned $7 million. MGM, which was the studio that actually produced it, earned $179 million. Now MGM has been bought by Amazon. So for the next James Bond movie, when they finally decide who the next James Bond will be, Amazon will make this money. Then the Broccoli family. So the Broccoli family are the original owners of the IP in the James Bond franchise. So imagine having IP that earns you $109 million. And also because they are the owners of the IP, they are executive producers in the film. So they have to be consulted on any major decisions that are made concerning the James Bond franchise altogether. So this is an example of a hugely successful film. It doesn't always happen like this, but yeah, and these are the numbers for all the previous James Bond movies before it. So you can go to the next slide. Yes. So other than video on demand, product placement, another way to get money from films is television and airline licensing. So when we travel and we have a bevy of films to watch on the plane, especially new ones, that those films are sorry. Is that me? Okay. Can you hear me? Yeah. So those films are licensed from the production companies. So usually what the airlines do is that they get both old and new, but they get a good number of new movies because not all movies are distributed in all territories. So there was a time, nowadays our distributors are more recognized worldwide. But say 5 to 7 years ago, I remember when I would travel abroad with my parents, part of the appeal was that I would get to see movies that wouldn't show in Nigerian cinemas. I'll get to see them on the planes. So that's part of the things that airlines offer. So usually they obtain a license from the production companies to be able to show these movies on their airlines. Sometimes you license the movie in a package, so you license it along with a number of others, or you license it at once or one at a time. Sorry. Sometimes you can go directly to the production company, or if the production company has licensed this right to a distributor, then you have to go to the distributor and get the rights from them. Other than airlines, you can also, production companies also license their movies to television stations or cable stations. So how the way you have DSTV that shows variety of movies every night, that's another stream of income for production companies. So the money is not huge compared to say product placement or video on demand, but it's another stream of income. Especially depending on the number of years, if it's exclusive or not, different license terms like that. So that depends on how that matters as to how much money is now received as license fees. Also, television stations could also license as a package or license on a one-on-one basis. So the television company would be more eager to license as a package because then they pay less. Because you know how when you buy in bulk, it's smaller. But the production company does not necessarily want you to license as a package. Unless I guess you're licensing a lot of their films, which I guess kind of makes sense for them. So the production company will be pushing for a one-on-one license, while the television station will be pushing for a package deal. So that it now depends on whose side you are representing to know what exactly you should push for and what you should ask for and how to negotiate that deal. Yes, next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. And the last way is merchandising. So, for those of us who are avid Harry Potter fans, has anyone been to the Wizarding World in the UK? It's this huge, I wouldn't call it an amusement park, it's like an experience for Harry Potter, more or less. So, that the rights to build that place and use the images from Harry Potter, use basically recreate the world of Harry Potter would have been obtained from the production company that produced Harry Potter. Now, these numbers are basically, they're from 2013, 2014, and they are basically the box office numbers versus the merchandising numbers from each of these movies. So that's to give you an example of, or an idea of how much money can come from merchandising. So basically, with Star Wars, numbers are a bit, but this is under, let's say it's about $2 million thereabouts from Star Wars as at 2013, 2014 for the Star Wars movie that came out around that period. This is how much the movie made at the box office. Now this, which is almost 3 times the amount, is how much was made from merchandising. Like, you know how there are Jedi toys, people are really into Star Wars toys, Star Wars merchandising, the lightsaber, everything. Harry Potter, like I said, now the movie is huge, the movies are huge, the books are huge, but the the books also add to this amount, this number for merchandising. You have the books, you have the Wizarding World, you have all the other merchandise that comes from Harry Potter. Now, this, even though this number is above $10 million, the merchandising is more than twice that. Marvel, 2013, Avengers. No, Avengers made a lot of money at the time. It was an entire experience for everyone who watched it. But then, can you see the amount that comes from their merchandising? So toys, um, Disney and all their rides, all that, all the other ancillary money that comes from MCU. Now, so sometimes some movies don't necessarily make a lot of money in the box office. Maybe they don't make a profit, but the studio will keep on making that movie because they know that even though the movie doesn't make money, the merchandising will more than cover for that. So they could make a movie that is not profitable. It's fine, no problem. You know, we understand not profitable, but we know where our money is coming from. So you have Toy Story 3. See how tiny the box office numbers are, but see the very measurable merchandising that comes from that. So this is the story for a lot of them. An example of a movie that didn't necessarily make a lot of money for the sequel was Cars. So Cars was a huge animation at the time think it was Cars 2 that didn't make a lot of money, but the merchandising more than made up for that. So you have Frozen to 50 Shades of Grey with the books. Minions are huge to everyone, including myself. I'm not sure if you remember the summer of Happy, where everywhere you turn, that was the song that everyone was listening to. So yeah, well, movie making itself is a huge money making business. In situations where money isn't necessarily made from there, or even if it is made from there, there's more money that comes from merchandising. But that merchandising money doesn't all come to the production company because the manufacturers of, say, the merchandise, the toys, they also get a cut from that. So that money is split as well. So yes, this that data was covered from ranker.com, and that is it. That is how money is made in film. Thank you.
Merchandising rocks, apparently, from what we've seen.
Yeah.
But what about merchandising in Nigeria? I think the only film I've really seen merchandise was King of Boys, and that's just a KOB t-shirt. How does that make it work here?
I mean, with us, like I said, I'm trying to first of all teach best practices. Yes, I think I'm not sure KOB is the only one, but I know I had seen at the time that KOB had its merchandise. It's a because in Nigeria, to be honest, we still import a lot. It's not a lot that we produce. We import toothpicks. So we need to sort out our production problem before we now sort out our production related to films. But once we have once we have that done, this is an entirely new avenue that can be created for um, film. I'm not sure if we remember. It was about 2 or 3 years ago. I can't remember the name of it now. There was this brand that sorry, there was this brand. Okay, yeah, it was I'm a keep. There was a period when I'm a keep features were everywhere. So imagine if that was following a film. Like everybody had I'm a keep shirts. Everybody had my money grows like grass shirts. Imagine if that was from a film. That would have been a lot of money for somebody. So even though we don't necessarily have that structure yet, we can see a pathway for it. Just with a bit more production based in Nigeria, there could really be a pathway for that revenue source.
So, what I want to do now, if I may borrow the mic, so what I want to do now is because we have the benefit of having an actual actor in the room, right? Please, a round of applause for them. We've been talking about movies, box offices, and I know you have done a lot of movies. So I just want to hear from you, sir. What do you have to chip into what we've heard from your own personal experiences? Thank you very much.
Thank you for this opportunity. And to our lecturer, I thank you very much. The only challenge I have is situating the Americas in the Nigerian context. All we are worried about, yes, just like our laws come from Soviet and so on. But there are certain things we do in Nigeria. We begin to cite Nigerian examples and so on. If you as merchandising give a Nigerian a toy, it's not going to value it. So let's be realistic about the environment we're operating. People have this training and lectures. It's my pleasure, like I said, I have an issue to be part of this. The whole idea of my presence here is I don't see myself as the one who has achieved all I need to achieve in the movie industry. I became a lawyer at 58, shows you there's somewhere I'm going to. And it's a challenge for me because everybody looks up to you. But I listen to people like you because this is the real location. This is Asaba. No, that's why we're here. If you bring the American experience, it's not going to work here. I know, you know, what the distribution company I came from South Africa many years ago. They ran away after 4 months here. So when we talk about merchandising, I want you from the perspective of Ebony, our sister more, what you advise. Just like when we talk about the other lecture we had, we wanted to see the intricacies of what goes into the contract. Not about the popularity of whiskey, it doesn't have me. These are guys I drink with in Lekki, which you know. But the fact is, I want to know when I'm with them what to look out for. Then I can open my eyes and say, okay, this is it. So, in conclusion, I appreciate how much this is because you open my eye to product placement. That's the area I lay some emphasis on. But with this, what you have just given us on that past 30 minutes or 1 hour, I think there are areas to look forward to. We are the ones who go on location. The professors who teach you don't go on location. And the legal advisors you have advise people like us who are on location how to do this business. It doesn't work. Let actors, if you want to be a successful entertainment lawyer, please come to location. Understand this job. If you don't understand it, it's too technical for you to advise me. It's just like a football player and a team coach. When the footballer enters a field, he sees the next man before him. He forgets what you taught him. So when you are a lawyer, please, for you to be successful in this entertainment business, come to locations. It's very important. See the practical aspect of what you can chip in and why things are not working. I'll be very, very happy that we begin to relate within the custom and local content of what the industry is. Nollywood is not where it used to be, but definitely not where it is. Thank you very much.
So I have one question for you, sir. How come Nollywood is not really done merchandising? Because like I said, the only first merchandise I saw was Widow Boys TV. So why have we not done merchandising until now? Because apparently, one house please. Because apparently you see the kind of number that can come from merchandising. So why have you not come up? I understand the toys, let's leave the toys, but t-shirts, all those kind of things.
I will not rule out entirely that some films never done merchandise over the years. I mean, I started with Living in Bondage in 1992, so I can tell you I've seen t-shirts, I've seen other things. But there are certain things which we need to take cognizance of. Who are these sponsors you talk about? She knows what I'm talking about. If you wrote a letter to a bank to sponsor a movie, you're going to wait for the next 3 years. We'll go to another market, and then the final money go man, it gives you 20 million the next day. These are the values, these are the people making the films. Forget about this Lekki and the VI and all these people. Well, when you get the script Dangote, for instance, now, he's not going to read the script. He passes it to the lawyer, who's going to pass to another person, another person. You stay there for the next 3 years. So, your question, it depends on who is advising who. And what forms? Of course, you know, the biggest challenge the entertainment industry has in Africa, not just Nigeria. South Africa could be an exception and Kenya, because they have a streamlined structure if you want to make a film. And it's quite easy. Of course, South Africa is also not a filmmaking nation. They are, I call them series producing content. South Africa actually gives kudos to Nigeria for what we call films. You know, but in terms of series, they're the best. So what we're saying is, what budget do production companies or sponsors have in Nigeria? The risk more about the runs and so on in making more movie, I know. You can't take that risk. You know, and that's why banks don't sponsor. So you need to do some crowdfunding, product placement to get your money. So when you begin to tell an uninformed or uneducated sponsor about toys, you say, hey, what's that with toys? Which one is it? I never know the first one. So don't think about merchandising. So most people, it's not their immediate thing, it's not their fault. You know, but it's a good thing. Like you see branding on buses and so on. Yeah. I can tell you it was done about even 10 years ago. Oh, you know, I can tell you that. But in the immediacy of this discussion, budget matters. You know, sometimes you need to cross it, begin to abuse an umbrella. What it is now is that we need to make a movie. And that's why I give credence. I was one who granted interviews when DSTV came here. Because there was this shout, let's chase them out from South Africa. I said, look, let them help us advertise our movies first. And that's what DSTV did. And we gave at the end. Because if we had chased away DSTV, there won't be any Hollywood. We'll still be stuck with what we're stuck with. So sometimes we may not worry too much about the merchandising. But the fact is, let's get in more private producers. Let's get people interested. And I think lawyers, we have a lot of job to do. Pick up one area of entertainment industry. Don't go to the big elephant. The entertainment industry is a new oil, actually. The new oil is not politics, it's not importation. It's entertainment industry if you understand the different sectors. And that, I can tell you there are many sectors. You see, the only challenge you have is that you only see the canals. You don't see the camera guys, you don't see the production managers, you don't see those who do wardrobe. See those guys and enter their own areas. Leave the popularity for people like me. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you. You have something to add to that one?
Yes. I agree with you, sir, on the complexities of the Nigerian markets. Definitely. We deal with that as well. But like I said when I started, I am trying to explain, first of all, global best practices. We're not there yet in Nigeria for a lot of different reasons. To be honest, one of the biggest things we need in Nigeria, just generally speaking, is just more money. If there was more money going around, some of these things wouldn't be as difficult. It's even like I try to emphasize, it's difficult even to get the brand to believe that they are going to get value from this product placement. That's why a lot of times you really see whatever this advert is plastered almost on the screen, because otherwise the brand is not going to accept to give you that money unless they are 100% sure that every single person sitting in that cinema will see whatever it is their product is in that scene.